One of my favourite Match 3 RPGs just got a new definitive edition release, so whether you're completely new to it or itching to get back into things, here's a quick look at Might and Magic Clash of Heroes, who are also kindly sponsoring today's video. This is set in the world of Heroes of Might and Magic 5, which is named Ashan, which is a game that I still have a physical box copy of somewhere, which was a return to form for the series after the disaster that was HOMM4. I'll run through the first chapter of the campaign, where our story begins in the Elven forests of Irulan, where a meeting between the elves and their allies is about to begin. We are introduced to Unwen, the elven huntress and daughter of an elven ranger, as well as Lord Edric and his 3 children, the eldest, Godric, the middle child, Fiona, and the hot-headed youngest brother, Aidan, where they make their way to a portal to welcome the wizards, and suddenly, chaos. Demons have emerged from hiding and should not be there, where this tutorial section guides you through the basics of the Match 3 combat. I'll skip through the tutorial stuff, but basically, you match groups of 3 vertically to start charging up attack combos, and horizontally to create defensive walls, where you have a fixed number of moves per turn, usually 3, before it switches to your opponent. You do have the ability to create chains and combos, which will grant you extra moves, so you will start to look out for T, cross, or L-shaped placement of units to exploit, where you can only have a limited number of units on screen and have to manually use an action if you want to summon more. The objective, of course, is to reduce enemy HP to 0, having to blast your way through enemies in order to do so, although there are some variants on this concept in special boss fights and puzzles. There are 5 factions to choose from, essentially being elves, humans, undead, wizards, and demons, so it's all fairly standard fantasy stuff with the tropes that you expect. Factions differ in their units, special abilities, and heroes, all of which can be used in multiplayer, where the campaign of course takes you through each one of them, teaching and allowing you to get a feel for the units. The Elven faction is pretty overpowered since their walls regenerate health and become stronger after every turn, where the basic Elven Ranger is just a decent all-rounder that charges up his attack very quickly, where after dispatching of the tutorial enemies, our heroes find the camp burning, as well as the death of major characters straight in the prologue, of course setting up the story and your quest for revenge. One more tragedy occurs, and the mother of one of the characters gets murdered by a demon, where 3 of the characters then jump into an unstable portal and are scattered to the winds, while Godric is captured and Anwen is on the run, hoping to regroup and build up her forces to take revenge. First up is a search for the loyal ranger in Finden, who sends scouts into the forest to verify Anwen's claims, where of course his men run into demons and are wounded. The entire game takes place on nodes, where you have battles, side quests, resources to collect, and creature dwellings where you can recruit special units, but there are also more clever ideas with puzzles and even stealth sections later on. You see some new units here in the Pixies and Bears, where the basic units have different abilities as well, such as the Pixies' attack power being proportional to your hero's MP meter. We do get our first special unit in the Deer, who's able to jump over enemy walls, where there are advanced tactics such as linking, where units of the same colour have the same attack countdown, as well as fusion by merging charged stacks of units, both of which increase attack power. In typical video game fashion, while there is an urgent need to fight back against the demons and to warn others of the threat, you can take on side quests and objectives from this bounty hunter character, which often just involves running around the map to find a marked character and then defeating them in battle. We then stumble upon some demons who are wearing human soldier boots and creating tracks, so these are not simple monsters but are being instructed by something more sinister, where they are attempting to cause the humans and elves to go to war with each other. There's no time to gloat over our victory, since the druid tree is under attack. So it's off to the next location, but not before stopping to collect a bounty on a rogue elf. We also take a diversion to a dank cave, fighting stray demons and collecting loot as well, where these are resources needed to recruit more creatures. And it's time to claim a bounty on the Necromancer, where we get the first look at the undead faction here, with vampires, skeletons, zombies and the lot, but they are no match for our powerful deer. Some druids join us along the way, where these creatures increase the charging time of enemy units when their attack hits them, useful for delaying and stalling. Upon arrival at the druid tree, surprise, it's not demons at all, but rather the knights of the Griffin Empire or the humans, the very same faction that were your supposed allies in the first place. Eavesdropping upon their conversation reveals that they are under the command of one Count Carlyle, who has spread lies that the elves are using the tree to spy on their neighbour. When we get a first taste of the innovation in this game, we are targeting soldiers who are sawing down the tree, where the objective is not to deplete the enemy's hero's HP. These units do move, so you do need to plan and time things right while maintaining enough defense so that your HP is not depleted, where the AI might not be the brightest with no attempt to block this shot. Somehow, a single soldier is able to operate the massive saw and can still move around, where it's the quick-firing archers that dealt the winning blow. There are various artifacts that you can find and equip, but only one at a time, some of which have game-changing abilities, so it would be wise to look and explore. A couple more battles occur with the deer units being the MVP, leading us to the top of the tower, and of course a boss fight, one where you have to avoid hitting your ally or it's game over. However, do note that losing a battle is relatively trivial in this game, since you can just continue with no penalty, not even really requiring you to save the game, so it is forgiving in that sense. After a tense battle, including tackling a charged griffin head-on, our heroes have won, but where we find out about the key object here being the Blade of Binding, an artifact that allows the wielder to control demons, of which everyone is chasing after, where we get a glimpse of the villain discussing his plans. After a fun little glide down the tree in leaf gliders, we get Emerald Dragons, which are awesome units, where it's on to another village to stop the humans and elves from fighting, but not before taking on some bounties of course, including a human pyromancer in which we get to show off the full power of our dragons and their lingering acid breath attack, which is OP. We then take on an elf who was searching for unicorns, where things get really dicey in terms of HP, but we manage to scrape through, where the reward is a new unit which creates a defensive aura while charging up. We resume our main story where we take on a named character in Sir Varkas, who might be of note later on, where he has angels in his army as the counterpart to our dragons. Luckily, we manage to unleash our dragon attack first, with the acid nicely providing a clear path of attack, where the use of Anwen's Arrow Storm special ability seals the victory, where she reveals the truth to Varkas and tries to stop the fighting. Again, in video game fashion, it's time for a side quest, this time in puzzles, where in these, you have a single turn to figure out how to destroy all enemies. For this puzzle in particular, due to the number of walls, the hint is that you will need to charge up the deer and the dragon and not the smaller units, where this gives you a better mastery of the combo and chaining systems, where it took me 3 tries to get the solution, with the reward of more resources, where again, despite the theoretical urgency, we took the time for a friendly battle with a knight, which granted us the Dragon Scales artifact, which increased the dragon's acid glue duration. After which, we took on a bounty on a rogue wizard, giving us a look at the Academy faction with djinns and gremlins. Luckily, they didn't use their elite units, where I swapped out the unicorns for deer, since the ability to jump over walls is pretty good. Pushing on with the story content, we now have to defend the Mother Seed from the humans, where one hit of damage and it is completely destroyed, so it's time to stack as many walls as possible, and it's not an easy battle, especially since the seed takes up a 2x2 space, which in an 8x6 grid is quite a lot of real estate, limiting the possible combos that you can make. Dragons came in clutch again, where their overwhelming power is a key advantage. We then get a poorly written letter on an arrow, again from the demons, who are trying to get the humans and elves to fight, where Godric is alive but has been captured. The next area includes a puzzle section where you're pushing logs into water to create a bridge, so there's some variety in gameplay, where it's on to the final demon gauntlet of the campaign. After 3 tune-up fights, where the deer dealt the most damage, the boss of the campaign reveals himself in Azexis, the same demon who killed the mage at the start of the chapter, where this boss fight is interesting as well since there are no fodder units. but rather, the demon moves about and has a variety of attacks, of which you can negate by attacking it, and also have to score direct hits on the character to inflict damage, where the boss moves after every attack, so again, planning and timing is key. Where I completely whiffed on the dragon attack, but managed to score on the second attempt, turning back the enemy and saving Godric. Although if he could break the iron chains by force, why didn't he do it earlier? Well, that brings us to the conclusion of chapter 1, where there are 5 factions, 5 main characters and 5 chapters, so you can see where this is going. So for more on the story, pick up the game for yourself, where clicking on the link below really helps me tremendously with my sponsor, and I can definitively say that this game still holds up and remains one of my favourite Match 3 RPG titles.